the fact that I don't know anything about your industry and the work that you do makes me ask more questions as someone who does not understand any of the jargon that you might be putting out on your content.
Well, welcome today to the first episode of Behind the Mind of Women in Business. This is the first episode of 2025, so I'm happy to have you here, Ishita. And yes, today we have Ishita. She's a ghostwriter and a content writer, and I'm so happy to have her here because I think she's gonna share with us the best copywriting tips and the best techniques that she has. She's really talented, so I'm really happy to have her here. So I think we can get started with you telling us a little bit about your background, about your business, and how you got started.
First of all, thanks for having me here, Helen. It's a pleasure to be here. So, hi to everyone watching. I'm Ishita, and I'm based in India, and I ghostwrite for people who qualify as founders, coaches, and serial entrepreneurs. I've been doing this for 1.5 years now, and it's been a roller coaster ride, of course, so far. To talk about my starting, I would say I started as a graphic designer. So I would say that I'm a graphic designer turned ghostwriter in that sense. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. I think, everyone goes through like this roller coaster. I'm still going through like this roller coaster, like getting clients, losing clients. I think it's a learning process all
Right.
the way. So can you tell us a little bit about what does a ghostwriter do, right?
So ghostwriting, like if I were to say this to anyone who's new and who's listening to this, it's basically me trying to translate whatever you think, whatever opinions you have as you go through your working, as you build your business, and as you meet new people. I kind of become your version. If I were to say, like, if this is Helen and if I were to ghostwrite for Helen, then I would be Helen 2.0. That's what a ghostwriter does, right? And I would like go on to LinkedIn. I would then write posts for Helen, which usually starts from me interviewing her. Like I will interview you, I'll ask questions, just like she's doing with me right now.
Mhm.
So that's also a new aspect for me as well, because I am someone who's being used to interviewing others, extracting their best earned insights. And now the roles have reversed, and that's also very exciting. So yeah, that's ghostwriting in a nutshell.
When we work in industries such as mine, right? Social media, but also graphic design and ghostwriting.
Hmm.
We work with different industries and sometimes industries that we don't understand. So right now you say you work with different coach founders, right? And CEOs. So when it comes to someone, because I remember I first had a discovery call with a someone who was in finances. And I don't really know anything about finances, right? I am unaware of this industry, but I have worked with pharmacies and I have nothing to do with the pharmacy where I know nothing. So when you get in this situation, right, someone comes to you and is from a different industry, or someone wants to reach out to you, but they're from like an industry that might be a little bit difficult. I think sometimes like we can think of even Bitcoin, right? It's really difficult to understand. So do you go and like learn about like this industry and everything? Do you say yes, or do you have like a niche, a very defined niche?
So to answer the first question, that yes, we often get people from different industries and niches. I remember getting my first client whose industry I knew nothing about, and that was a real estate client. And this was so real estate is also an industry that depends, on the location. It's a very geographic thing as well. And so this person was based in Dubai. And I knew nothing, first of all, about real estate. And then to talk about real estate in Dubai or the UAE, I knew nothing about that. So what happens, and I have discovered this through, or my past calls that I've had with such people, is that the fact that I don't know anything about your industry and the work that you do makes me ask more questions as someone who does not understand any of the jargon that you might be putting out on your content, right? So if I were to interview someone from real estate, so for that first client, what I essentially did was like really ask like a 5-year-old kid. And I warn them that, some of the questions they might sound silly to you, but a lot of people among, like, in your audience, they might not be able to understand that jargon. Or if they do understand it, there's no sense of familiarity. So I kind of went in with a story approach that I was like, tell me, how did you get into this, into real estate, and what essentially makes you different from other people in that industry? And if someone, especially if your customer is there and they know nothing about, the real estate, or they don't know who the industry moguls are, then how would you convince them, and what your work process is about? Because there's a lot of trust factor included as well in real estate. You're essentially trying to get property, and that's a very confidential thing. So I would proceed with that sort of lens, I would say. And it's the same thing that repeats in every other industry I come across. So real estate, finance, Bitcoin, as you
Mhm.
said. But I do pick people from certain industries to work with. So for example, right now I don't work with anyone in finance because I think that is going to take me some more time. Like, it's on the weaker side for me. But I would pick real estate. I would pick, for example, tech, anyone in the tech industry, deep tech, or anything like that. And so, yeah, like, as you start working with clients in a new industry, you then get experience. So it's also like you learning something about them.
Mm.
And yeah, then from there on, you get the familiarity.
One of the best things about working with someone else, so like a ghostwriter, because sometimes you assume people know the things, and maybe you're
Yeah.
writing things that are like too many jargons or too many things, like you're like, what? And I think that's where you come in and you say, you know what? I'm new to this industry, and if I'm not understanding this, can you believe like the
Yes.
other people are not gonna understand that, right? How do you capture your client's voice? Because everyone is unique. Everyone has a different energy. Everyone is trying to sound different. Maybe I'm too educational, right? Or maybe I have a client who she says like, the things I want to write, or the things I want the videos to look like, or the ideas I want you to present me are very cheerful, are very like energetic. I'm like that. But then I work with someone else who's like, I'm very educational, right? This is how I want to sign because I'm very formal and I'm in this industry. So how do you capture each client's voice?
In fact, that's a concern that a lot of clients who are new, and they come to me with that kind of hesitation, that how do I, and why should I, first of all, assign my personal brand, my reputation to you who knows nothing about my voice? So, and the way I tackle that is, the first thing, my I would say my background in literature plays a very important role here. I have acted for a while in the university, and the f- I've realized that there is a very common thread between acting and ghostwriting. It's essentially the same thing, that in there as well, you have a character, a completely different character that could be from your personality, and then you have to essentially portray that one, right? And you have to do justice to that character, which is the very same thing here, but here it's like it's real people, but in acting, it's fictional people. So the thing is, for a client, what I will do is, when I interview them, I will really pay attention to, the verbal cues that they're giving me, the non-verbal cues that they're giving me. I would sometimes also go through their older comments, older posts, if they've left any on their profile. I would dig into their, any podcasts they've been on. It's like I'm just, conducting a background research on them, and then I try to categorize them, like, in some sort of personality. So for now, I use the MBTI personality type, which is like you have 16 different kinds of personalities. And I like to just do this thing in my mind, that when I encounter someone new, like to think that, okay, this one must be an INTP or an ENTP. Yeah, that's how I kind of really get to know about the person first. The voice thing, it takes time for the voice to translate. And yes, it's a very important thing for that voice to not be a replica of any other clients that you write for. Not even your post should be similar to that client's post, right? And so, yeah, it's a very, I would say, intricate thing that you have to work on. And it does take like about 2 to 3 months on an average for me when the client actually comes to me and says that, okay, you finally nailed my voice. I cannot differentiate myself from your comments that you've written for me. So yeah, it comes with time.
How do you go about with people who are first start, because you said like you go through your old clients' posts and everything, but how do you approach someone, or what advice if you don't work with people who are like really starting out, what advice do
Mhm.
you give to people who they say like, okay, LinkedIn is growing, I see, I like it, I want to go into it, but I am new to the to everything and I don't even know my voice. So how do you what advice can you give to someone who doesn't know your voice? Or if you have worked with someone, how have you helped them find their voice? Because sometimes like we think we got it and then we change and then we're still trying to figure out what we like, what we don't.
Honestly, I don't think anyone really gets their voice like at one point when you're like, oh, I've got my voice. Like even the things that I'm saying today, I might not agree with them tomorrow, like the beliefs that I hold and everything. But yes, there is one sort of, when someday you write a post and you feel like, oh, that's me, I feel very aligned with it in the moment. And to reach to that alignment, especially when you're starting out, I would say really, first of all, focus in your like on your values. And this is like a full-fledged exercise that I got to know from one of my clients who does behavioral coaching. But you really need to be clear on your values first. Like, do you value community a lot? Because if you value community, then you might speak in a tone that is very amiable tone, like you would be friendly, you might be a bit gentle, whereas some people have a sharp tone and they like being sharp. They're blunt with whatever they say. They don't like to beat around the bush, right? So these are different kind of voices. And to get to that point, let's say you figured out your values, you start writing a few posts. This thing, it does not show itself without writing anything. You might think that, okay, I'm reading books, I love reading X kind of books, but you really still don't know your voice unless you pour that out in the form of a post, in the form of a blog. So you have to write a few posts. They're going to suck, in the beginning, like 10 to 20, even 100. So it's a thing that it really comes with time. But yes, really keep on reassessing your values.
You even learn about yourself, I think, in this process of
Yes,
LinkedIn, right? What you like, what you don't like.
completely.
You change things around. And I like what you said because even me, I sometimes feel like when I started doing video, I felt like really cringe. Or when I go to my older
I get
posts,
that.
I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I was writing that, right? But I always also say never delete anything because it's also part of like who you have become, and you can always go back to see
Hmm.
like, oh my God, how much have I grown, or like how much I have changed, because sometimes we feel that thing, right? Like, oh my God, I want to delete it, we feel too much cringe. And
Hmm.
let's get a little bit more into the copywriting ones. So how do you handle a writer's block?
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical about writer's block. I'm not sure if that really happens. You might think it happens, but the thing is, if you start recording yourself on a random day without like just impromptu,
Mm.
and I'm saying voice recording, audio recordings, like memos, you will have something to say, even it's gibberish. You let some of that gibberish, it really pour out, and then afterwards, you would be actually able to bring out a string of words that actually create some meaning and is tied back to your offer, to your business, especially if you're trying to create content around your business. I came across a post, I think yesterday, which talked about yes, there is a writer's block, there could be, but there is no such thing as a talker's block. So if you start talking, you will come across something that is worthy of being, converted into a post. So keep just talking to yourself. If it helps, text yourself ideas, or some people even write emails to themselves, which I mean, whatever works for you.
If you're feeling like nothing is coming, as you said, you just need to get out there. You need to read something and things they start flowing, right? When you're writing, for yourself, I guess a little bit more, or for other clients, what would you say are like one or two persuasive techniques we can put out there when we're writing content for LinkedIn?
So for the first, like let's say you have something to promote, if that's a lead magnet, you really have to be clear first of all, And it's like sometimes you just have to ask yourself the basic questions, and that in itself is like a post. For example, if you're writing a lead magnet, you should ask yourself, well, who this is for, and go through that, whatever that you've created, and see if anything is in there that could help someone today immediately. And if you can convert that into a post, I'm not talking about a how-to post though. It's like you've written a point in that lead magnet, maybe you've written something, and you kind of start thinking back to the time when you actually came up with that point, and you think, what experience led to me saying this, or what experience gave me that observation, that let's say you're saying you're a mental health coach, and you have a certain practice that you recommend to clients. Why? And why do you think that works? Has it ever worked for you in the past? Maybe if you could, put out an experience like that. So you have to sometimes start with storytelling. Like there are different techniques to go around this, and every ghostwriter has their own strategies to promote a lead magnet or anything that could like result in a conversion. It's just really as simple as going back, seeing something that you have today as a very solid point, and asking yourself, well, why am I so bullish on this? A good post, first of all, it looks different for everyone, but for you it should be like, if you're looking at a good post, it should be something that first of all solves a problem, targets your clients, your audience, and it just does not bring in the wrong crowd. That is very important. So especially when you're talking about the hooks. And this is something that one of my clients struggled with. So in the hooks, she had this habit of including certain titles like CEOs, sometimes founders, sometimes executives. And I was like, who are you really talking to? Like that hook in itself is going to bring in people from different spheres. And then you're just going to end up with a mixed audience. So you have to be very clear on that. From that hook itself, am I calling in the wrong people, or is just the crowd that I want to talk to? And this is something also that people hesitate to do, because I'm asking you to basically dial down and double down on that one audience you're talking to, which for a lot of people means that, oh, I'm going to lose everyone else who's reading my posts. I'm not going to go viral. It's a lot of those things, but then again, that's vanity metrics, and virality would not pay your bills, as cliche as that sounds. A good post, it should really be a conversation between you and the person you want to do work with, that really aligns with you. So you're essentially calling people you align with through a post, and it should solve a purpose.
Being afraid of saying like, oh, I'm only gonna speak to these people, or stop doing something because you think like you're not gonna reach the masses, or you're gonna seem inaccessible. That's not really true. I think that's just the fear inside of us, and maybe like we have to lose that fear, because a lot of opportunities are coming. So what we think like virality is gonna, if we don't do this, we're not gonna become viral, or we're not gonna do this. Sometimes it does nothing for us. A lot of the times it does nothing for us. So now that you said your
You got it.
yes and like the best things, what are your no's?
Okay, so this one might be a bit subjective, but I hate it when people like really bombard bullets in their posts, like all sorts of arrows, like right arrow, left arrow, slant arrow, um, emojis and everything. It's just like it no more remains a post. It sounds like, I don't know, some comic strip or something. Um, and that just is very, it diverts you from the topic that you're talking about. So that's a big no for me. Then secondly, jargon, of course. And sometimes I've seen that things might not look like jargon to you. And that's why maybe you need a fresh set of eyes, to really show you what you're saying is maybe not landing the right way that you want it to. Third one is also writing a post that feeds the algorithm but does not serve a purpose, really. You're saying a lot of things, but then you're not really saying anything to the people you're meant to communicate with, and to the people you're meant to bring to your landing page or whatever that is. Sometimes clients ask me for feedbacks, and the first thing I do ask myself by looking at that post is, does it serve a purpose? Are we doing anything here Or are we just spinning in circles? And this is not just one of those needle moving posts. Sometimes you just have to be very truthful to yourself, to the people you're talking to, and that might result in you getting 10 to 20 likes, not 80 to 90 likes as you're used to getting. But I would say this that so yesterday itself, I got a message from my client that this post had gotten like 10 likes, and someone immediately booked a paid workshop with them from that post. So, and it was a post that was like very, very laser focused on their client, on their audience. So yeah, sometimes you have to experiment things to change whatever you believe.
We also have to bring that authority to our post
Yes,
a lot, so we really get, booked and people asking about like, I want to know how you do this, or like they want to more know about our
right.
services. So to finish a little bit up in here, I think the last question would be, what are three advices you can give to coaches, to founders that are starting their personal brand?
First thing that comes to mind is that kudos to you for, in the first place, deciding that you want to build a personal brand, that you want to show up, that you want to document yourself. Not a lot of people on LinkedIn, or basically, like if you see through all the socials, not a lot of people, they want to show up, they don't want to post regularly. So kudos to you for taking that decision in the first place. And then secondly, you're going to be overwhelmed when you look at you posting, starting from scratch, getting 0 likes, I don't know, negligible impressions, um, and you're going to beat yourself up. I know, I've been through that. And then you have these people on LinkedIn talking about their 6-figure months, 7-figure months. They're talking about going viral, and then you're like, I'm left behind, and maybe I should quit. That phase is going to come, and if I'm being honest, I think of quitting like once a week. That is very important for me. If I think that I am going to quit, that means okay, things are going well. Because that's like, that's the roller coaster we're on. If you show up for yourself every day, people will notice you. And of course, do this with strategy. Consistency alone is not going to get there. And the third advice is that it's great if you're here for long term. In the long term, I don't know anyone who has been here for like 1 year, 2 year, and they're still stuck, they're still stagnant. If they have a strategy and if they are showing up with with intent, I've seen people really go to some big places, sit on bigger tables. So LinkedIn is one of those places that I'm really confident about, that if you give it your best, LinkedIn is going to reward you. It's going to, reciprocate your efforts. It's one of those platforms.
Just don't give up. And thank you so much for joining us. And I guess if you
Thank
just
you.
wanna finish, like telling us a little bit about your services and like how you can help us, a little pitch over there that you can throw in.
Yeah, okay. So right now I am running a 3-month co-writing thing where I partner with people. So that's founders, coaches, and serial entrepreneurs. And if you're one of them, I would really love to partner with you. And the things we basically do in this 3 month, we start from the ground up. Let's say you have a personal brand, you don't have a personal brand, but you have some goals for 2025 that you want to hit. And these could be revenue goals as well. So if you have those goals to hit and you're very clear on them, if you're someone who has above 3K followers, what goes in is that I we meet once or twice a month where I interview you. I would have a set of questions and we would have some alignment calls to make sure that we're on the same page. And then it's really a process of me converting whatever that the missing gaps are there, maybe things that your audience is not able to get. And my job is to convert them so that people convert. Where we like working with milestones. So this 3-month course is like I break it down into milestones for every client that I meet. So depending on your industry, on your goals, on the audience, we have some goals. It's like a gamified version that we like to do. So when we hit something in a week, I'm like, oh yeah, woohoo, we just hit something, and congratulations, kudos to you. So it's a very like a teamwork thing. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun while building this personal brand for you, while turning LinkedIn into a revenue channel for you.
Thank you, Ishita. I love that. And for anyone who wants to join, I'm gonna leave everything in the description below and also her LinkedIn so you can find her. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.